No, it's just, I mean, it's a good question. You don't know how to do it.
Maybe.
But for a junior in high school,
The Texas question is a dumb question.
yes, but it's also rightfully hilarious.
Yes, it is hilarious. That poor child.
I had a whole book in high school, throughout high school, where one semester or 1 year we like wrote down excerpts of like what one of our teachers said of things just totally taken out of context, and it was
There's a lot.
You fill, really? I used to fill notepads of how many times the teachers would repeat the same thing over.
Oh, we have to.
Oh, I just write it down.
We have to. Because they don't pay attention. It takes like 8 times.
Or like at middle class school, like, it's just like the whole class was all argument, like the whole time. So I just sat there and just wrote, this person said this dashes how many times, like.
I thought about
I
this
have, like,
dude
one
yesterday
notebook.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the other thing that I thought about yesterday.
Hmm.
Same podcast, different episode. They were talking about one of his portrait busts. So he had busts all throughout the empire, as most emperors did, showing him in different formats. But part of the empire in Africa was conquered by a female warlord. I think her name was Candace. She had one eye. But when she conquered that part of Africa, she cut off the head of this statue of Augustus, which was bronze, and then took it to the temple and buried it right under the steps where you like walked over it, so that everyone stepped on him.
That's petty, and I love it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like we see him so commanding here, but he ended up having to, he was forced to strike a deal with Candace because she outmaneuvered him, and he lost that land. Yeah, and had to give her money to stop trying to conquer more stuff. But you don't see that here. So that's something else I thought about. Yeah.
That's a good thought.
An interesting thought. The warlord Candace with one eye.
Mm.
Anyways.
Pictures now.
Yeah. So side note that I forgot to mention the other day, Augustus ruled for a long time, which we know, but he was like 70 something when he died, but he never changed his portrait. It was always this one. They're the same. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of art and politics throughout the early period. Flavians tried to switch it up and make the masses happy. They did a pretty good job at it too. And then of course, we have the High Empire. This is just a review, by the way. High Empire with Trajan and Hadrian. Our Spaniards really did a great job with the economy and expanding territory. This is the largest the empire had ever been. Once again, more art for politics to really like solidify them as being impressive. They also made things for people like Trajan's Marketplace, which was a mall in the simplistic sense of things. Hadrian wanted to be an architect and an emperor. We know that. Really famous for the Pantheon, another project for the people. So we're seeing that the more successful emperors are making stuff for everyone, but also making artworks that make them look like they're in charge and demand respect. Of course, he made his own house. Almost every emperor had their own impressive house. Then later on, the art style becomes very eccentric as Rome tries to do their own thing with Greek art. The Antonines, of course, follow that. Once again, making art for political purposes. This is Antonius Pius's pedestal where his monument's sent. But once again, art style, really weird. I still think about this one a lot too. I'm thinking a lot lately. It's not a bad thing. And of course, Marcus Aurelius, which I have had to this week reference twice in later PowerPoints. So he's going to pop up again and again. the equestrian statue. And of course, sarcophagi become popular as Christianity spreads. There's two different kinds of sarcophagi, the Eastern and Western style. And then, of course, in the late Empire, the Severans take over. And yeah, Caracalla kills his brother. And then we have the soldier emperors, which I mean, in this PowerPoint, I didn't really mention, there's only like 2 here, but there were dozens of soldier emperors. They just kept killing each other. I'm not joking, they did. But yeah, this guy, I still think he looks so sad. I just really want to feel bad for him, but I can't. Yeah, this one, I thought about this yesterday too. Strange things to think about, but yeah, like why? Yeah, why? No, it's not aesthetically pleasing. I understand why he did it, but it's not pleasing to look at all. Yeah, times are changing. It is still eccentric. People are, this is a wonderful example of people doing their own thing. We're going to do what we want. I want to be shown as a wrestler, therefore I will be shown as a naked wrestler. I mean, they did wrestle in the movie, so it's not really weird. Our little Balvic Temple of Venus, I actually like, well, I wish that we could have seen it in whole. I like the concept of this. Once again, just personal opinion. I like the idea of this galloping being echoed in the roof and the stage area, I guess you could call it. Of course, the Tetrarchy follows after our soldier emperors. Diocletian sets that up, and it worked until Diocletian retired, and then it all fell apart. But yeah, they did group portraits, which you remember. The group portraits were very identical. This is really a precursor to what we're doing today, late antiquity, where everything is pretty similar. Yeah, not really individualism here. And also a bit cartoonish. I think they look cartoonish. And that took us into where we stopped yesterday with Constantine. Constantine, of course, famous for reuniting the Roman Empire and legalizing Christianity and making it the de facto religion of Rome. And of course, moving Rome. We talked about his arch yesterday, and today we're picking up with his Colossus. The Colossus of Constantine was huge. This is just his head, and it is 8 feet tall. Yeah, big. It was not standing. It was seated at the side of a basilica, well, inside of it. The basilica itself was once the really administrative building of Rome. However, when Christianity takes over, they use that same basilica floor plan for Christian churches. The OG floor plan, a bit different than what it ends up evolving into, but it's a square with an aisle and nave on each side. At one end, you would have the altar that the speaker speaks from. Now, originally, the door was in an interesting location. Today, our door is like here, which makes sense. And you walk and see the altar straight away. OG door, 5. Yeah. Later on, a transept will be added over here. That's not going to happen for a hot minute, though. Not for a few thousand years, so you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, basilica. So early basilica was just your rectangle building. It had originally wooden roofs, and well, almost the entire thing was wooden, with some stone columns for supports and decoration. That'll, of course, evolve as well. Stuff changes. But over on one of the sides in the basilica, Constantine had this really big colossus. For this colossus, because it was so big, they didn't get super detailed. If you remember back to Egypt, those really, really big statues at Abu Simbel of Ramses II, they're all identical and they don't really look like anyone, just Pharaoh, a Pharaoh, no individuality. What happens when you get really, really big is you gotta lose some detail. However, he is more detailed than those pharaohs. He does have his furrowed brow line, his very large nose, and his cleft chin, which were, well, things that he actually had. This is marble. Originally, the torso was made of wood and gilded in gold. To hold up all of this, though, because wood can't hold up a good 8-foot tall chunk of marble, there was brick inside. So, I don't know, I equate it to like baby dolls, you know how they have like that fabric cotton body, and then the plastic like that. His limbs and his head were marble and everything else was wooden bricks. Of course, we don't have the wood part, but we have some of the marble pieces. But yeah, this is good from that. And like I said, it sat in the basilica. Here's where it sat. He had one arm up in kind of a commanding symbol like the orator images of previous emperors. And in the other hand, it was stretched out with an orb in it. Orb symbolizing the world. It's going to become a pretty common theme for other Christian emperors to pick up of carrying the world in your hand, or being, it ends up symbolizing like God in a way, and Christianity in the world in your hand. So power and Christianity is what it ends up being equated to eventually. Constantine's the first one to use it. It did have a cross on the top of it in gold. Yeah. So if you've ever seen pictures of the coronation, there's a orb with a cross on it, and then they carry a staff. Yeah, they still use the orb to symbolize, I am a Christian ruler today. It's weird. He's the first one to do it though. This temple that his colossal statue in Basilica Nova was 300 feet by 215 feet. It did have concrete walls and barrel vaults on it, as well as stuccoed wall decor. They also included coffers over the large arches and smaller arches on the sides. And of course, we don't have it anymore, which is why this is a diagram. But wait, there's more. Constantine, like all of the other emperors that came before him, including all the soldier emperors, not only did he have portrait busts made and monuments, he also had coins made. We started off talking about Julius Caesar's coin, which showed off, well, his age and his receding hairline. And we are finishing with Constantine's coin. We have two of Constantine's coins. The first coin on the left is from when he just took over as being emperor. He still had to take out some people to solidify his reign. The coin on the right is from the very end of his reign. What do you guys think about these two? Beginning and end. Is more complex, yes. We've got more going on.
More stuck out.
Yeah.
Is it pressed? Was it pressed?
Yeah, they're pressed, yeah.
Very stylized.
Profile.
Yeah, one of them's profile. It's traditional. It's very traditional depiction of a leader. So traditional that we picked it back up in the US.
Mm-hmm.
He has his laurel wreath going back to Greece. He is shown pretty much as strong with a beard, which was once again made popular during Hadrian and Trajan's rule. So going back to those famous emperors that were good in air quotes, because yeah, they did bad stuff. Who doesn't though? Really, like who doesn't do bad stuff somewhere along the line? There's just might be a little bit more famous. Those are other things I think about. Then when he has finally solidified his role, he can break away from this like classical. He doesn't need that to prove himself anymore. That's how I like to look at these. Because it is very much in his style towards the end versus the beginning is more like, I'm trying to be something. It seems like he's come into his own with the end version. which does, of course, have a lot of symbols of Christianity. He's wearing armor. Constantine didn't wear armor while he was ruling. He wore armor before he took over, while he was leading his army, but then he didn't. He has his staff with the orb and the cross on the top. Christian. I'm a Christian. I need you to know, in case you didn't know, I am. And then his horse behind him that he rode into battle. It had a name. It's in your book. I don't remember the name. Yeah. So very different. It's like he's like, what do you want included in your portrait today? My horse? Sorry, this is just like, it's like getting a portrait done with your pet. A little more to it. He had like reasoning behind it to show he was a warrior, but the same concept. Sorry, I'm really off topic today. Yeah. Anyways, that takes us into the summary. That's it for Rome. If you remember early Republican art, it was very influenced by the Etruscans and the Greeks. They pretty much just took what they got from them and merged it to use. And then Augustine art during the early empire was all about art for what purpose? Power, politics, persuasion, yeah. Flavians are known for what monument? The Colosseum, yeah. And some other stuff, but yeah, mostly the Colosseum. And then the 4 styles of Pompeii, those paintings that are going to be on your test. There's the first style, which is like faux marble in stucco. The second style shows illusion of death. Yeah.
And the third one is the small,
Itty painting. Yeah, very minimal. And then the 4th style has all of it. Yeah, remember you have to choose one of them and talk about it on your test. And then what happened in High Empire under Trajan and Hadrian and the Antonines? Well, we went back to using art for politics. Yeah. It didn't really ever stop, but yeah. They also decide to go back to showing people as older instead of idealized forms. And what happened with the soldier emperors? What happened with the soldier emperors? They did all kill each other, but what happened in the art? It becomes eccentric and they do what they want. And we don't have really big monuments because they all died too soon. That's the other big thing.
Yeah.
But we do have a lot of coins and busts. To be a coin minter at that time would have been interesting. Yeah. And then under Constantine, what ended up happening to the art? Like thinking all the way, the coins are a great example, thinking all the way of all the other stuff that we've been through up to Constantine. What do you guys think? There is a very big breakaway from tradition, yes. And that breakaway is going to continue as we go into late antiquity, which is not tomorrow. I just ended up getting the days wrong. The late antiquity, meaning the Romans, Jews, and Christians. This is where there's a bit of a clash between Christianity, Judaism, and Rome, all within the Roman Empire. Eventually, Christianity wins out, but for a while there's contested land issues between them as to who can do what. So, yeah, we're still on Rome. We're going to be on Rome for a while. I'm still on Rome, and I'm on to 2 weeks from now. So, yeah, but it's a very different Rome in this section. It's the Christian Rome, the Rome after Christianity was legalized by Constantine, but they don't consider themselves as something else. They still call themselves Roman. even when we get to the Byzantine era, which is where we're going to be at tomorrow, they don't call themselves Byzantium people. They call themselves Roman. It's just history and historians later on named it something different. But according to them, they got the Roman passport. They are Roman. Now, like Grace just mentioned, the art shifted quite a bit under Constantine. It's still going to keep progressing that way throughout this section into truly Christian art, which some of you are aware of what's going to happen. Some of you, it's going to be a surprise. But yeah, we can divide this section into 4 groups, which is what we're doing. We're going to be in 4 groups, which means one of you guys is going to get a partner and the others are not. It's going to be the longer section that gets 2 people so that they can split it up. The shorter sections, no. But we're going to do the same thing that we did with Etruscan art and make a really short presentation. So choose 1 or 2 objects that you think really summarizes that particular era. Hang on, let me get another better. You guys have different page numbers. Not too far off though, pretty similar. So first section is Dura Europus and Jewish art, meaning that this is the Jew part of late antiquity. So for whoever does the Dura Europa Jewish art section, maybe talk about what it was like to be a Jew, which it does say in your book, and talk about 1 or 2, let me see. Yeah, like 1 or 2 things from that section, whatever appeals to you. Anyone down for the Jewish part? Yeah, thank you. And it doesn't have to be long, like a couple minutes is fine, just like you did last time. That's good. Now, part 2, the catacombs and funerary art. Once again, we're not to the part where Christianity is quite legalized, therefore they're stuck in catacombs. But we also have some sarcophagi happening in this section, and some sculptures being made as monuments. So once again, choose 1 or 2 things, discuss why they made those, and like, describe the object. What was its purpose? Anyone down for that one? Grace. And next would be architecture and mosaics. Mosaics are extremely important in Christian art. So this is just the beginning of the mosaics. I believe this is the long section. Yeah, this is the longer section. So this will be 2 people. So if one of you guys wants to focus on architecture, maybe choose 1 of the basilicas. You don't have to do all of them. And 1 of the mosaics. And why are they there? What was the format, kind of thing. So 2 people for this one. Who would like this one? Jess and Brandon?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And the last one's luxury arts. Luxury arts are, of course, usually considered like minor arts, like craft. So bookmaking, metalsmithing, and ivory carving. You can, this one, there's not really any background history that you need to do for it. Just pick an object and discuss the object, and that's it. You can just do 1, it's fine. So you can choose either the diptych if you like that one, or the metal plate if you like that, or 1 of the books. And yeah, that's what we'll work on the rest of the session.